Kochie's Business Builders is proudly brought to you by our partner KPMG, who are helping small businesses grow.
Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, we meet the man who made juice with no nasties commonplace. Productivity tips from a dead set legend, plus Australia's favourite family business competition is back. G'day and welcome to a special episode of Kochie's Business Builders, where we'll be taking a deep dive into entrepreneurship with a founder whose business is now a household name. Tom Griffith is one half of the dynamic duo that makes up Emma and Tom's. Long before lifestyle brands were a thing and green juices were the go-to of every fitness fanatic, Emma and Tom launched a business that makes healthy, delicious juices without any of the bad stuff. It's now almost 20 years later, and Emma and Tom's is an international brand. Now, I've been a huge fan of the Emma and Tom's journey, and we've regularly checked in on them over the years here on Kochie's Business Builders, so we can all learn from their experience. Tom Griffith, good to see you, and thanks again for letting us pick your brains.
Yep, no. Thank you, Kochie. Good to be back, and thanks for your ongoing support.
Every time I interview you, I learn a whole bunch of things, and our viewers do as well. Take us back to the start of how you founded Emma and Tom.
I'd been advising Pernod Ricard, the French drinks conglomerate, and I'm skiing in North America, and I was having this green juice on the Gondi on the way to the high alpine every morning, and that was like literally the aha moment. No one's doing that in Australia. Blended, whole fruit, great for you. If it works in North America, it's got to work in Australia.
So what's the secret to the longevity of the brand from that aha moment to now?
We've always done what we said we were going to do. So with all of our suppliers, who are obviously vital to us, and they're primary producers and bottling plants, etc., we've got 20-year relationships with almost all of them. Similarly, our major customers, be they the major retailers or family-owned businesses.
But back then, you're a real pioneer in this healthy drink area. Now it has boomed. How have you been able to protect your patch?
Look, I think it's obviously having a great product and a very strong brand, but there's a thing in this business called the last mile. And you and I can go and make some orange juice up in the country and get it shipped to Melbourne or Sydney and put it into a warehouse. You've got to get it into the shop.
Yep.
And you've got to do it repeatedly, week in, week out. So we've been consistent there with a consistent product and great distribution the whole way along.
Distribution has evolved over the time for you, hasn't it? Because you owned all your own vans and everything. You're right at the coalface when you first started.
Look, it's very hard to get going because when you start, you're not relevant to anyone. Most distributors have a phone book full of products they want to sell. So I came across a guy who was actually one of my best friend's brother's fiance's stepfather who owned a distribution company. So we got going with him.
Your brand philosophy, look after yourself. How does that point you strategically in the right direction in building new products?
That's like the lens we use when we look at a product.
Right.
So if it doesn't fit that motto or that framework, it doesn't get released.
So when you're doing a planning session, you always come back to that, do you?
Yeah, we come back to sort of principles. Obviously, it's got to be sort of natural, no added sugar, minimally processed. So those are the underlying maxims.
Right.
And of course, innovation is important too. It's got to be either new or different or better.
Okay, you started with 4 juices. Now, how big's your product range? You've got
we have 30 products.
Wow, that's enormous. So how do you choose the different segments to go into?
Suppose if you look at it like you have a finite space in a fridge, let's say it's one shelf, and you've got to put in 8 products, well, you need to put in what maximises the sales of that shelf. So it's what we like, and then driven by consumer demand.
And how do you determine that? What sort of testing do you go through?
We look at ourselves, we look at foreign markets. Obviously, the UK and the US are probably 5 to 10 years ahead of Australia in that wellbeing sector. They pioneered it. So we looked at all those things, and we're lucky because we have our own distribution. We don't need to wait for a big supermarket chain to place the elephant in the room sort of order where it's thumping.
And the other focus is no nasties, which is great when you're small, but how can you scale and still keep to a promise like that?
That's
How difficult is it?
That's a bit of the dark art. I mean, it's much harder to make a drink or a snack that doesn't contain anything artificial or added colours and flavours and sugar. So being chilled is a major sort of protection for us because not many similar companies have chilled distribution.
Right. A lot more from Tom coming up. It's a fascinating journey, is it? We'll be back with more from Tom after the break. Coming up, we get the lowdown on Australia's favourite family business competition. Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Well, our competition to find Australia's favourite family business is underway in association with KPMG Australia. Robin Langsford, the global lead of KPMG Private Enterprise Family Business, tells us why you should nominate. Robin, great to have your support on Australia's favourite family business. Why is now a good time to recognise family businesses?
Well, I think any time's a good time to recognise family businesses, Kochie, particularly in Australia as they're such key contributors to our economy, employment, innovation and the communities in which they operate. They punch well above their weight and so, yeah, happy to call them out and amplify their voice anytime. What
are the three key advantages you see that family businesses have?
Well, recently KPMG did a global family business survey on the sustainability of family businesses and clearly demonstrating that family businesses are at the forefront of running a sustainable long-term business, more so than their counterparts in the other areas of the market. There was 8 key success factors. I think the 3 that probably resonate with me the most would be the forward-looking orientation of family businesses, a gender-diverse leadership team and board, and the charismatic, transformational leadership style that family members have when they're at the top.
So, in your experience, how are businesses putting these into practice?
So things like families aren't beholden to, 6-month profit announcements, annual reports, reporting to a diverse shareholder base, maintaining dividend payments. So that allows them to be a little bit more flexible with what they do, maybe perhaps pausing dividend payments to family, retaining working capital so that they can invest in some innovation or maybe purchase a new factory or storage facility. That long-term orientation gives them, I guess, a patient decision-making framework to create value over the longer term. So that's one of the ways that I see that particular factor playing out.
Robin, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Nominate your business today at koshiesbusinessbuilders.com.au/AFFB for your chance to be crowned Australia's favourite family business and win a media package valued at more than $40,000. Good luck. Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Now, Airwallex' inaugural Australian Business Growth Index found a third of small businesses surveyed already have operations overseas, and more than 69% plan to expand and go global by 2027. Now, that's a lot of Aussie businesses with their sights set on overseas success. Now, Emma and Tom's already exports to an enormous number of countries, including the elusive Chinese market. Tom, what have been some of your challenges in terms of taking the business overseas?
Well, I'll say firstly, the road isn't paved with gold on the way to China. I mean, it's a big market, yes, but everyone in the world is there. So the problems you have with Australian grocery are going to be amplified in China, and there's a tyranny of distance. So, we've had some success there, and we've done that via partnering with like-minded companies who have helped us launch in their markets, be it Middle East, China, or Hong Kong, Singapore.
So having boots on the ground is important, locals to build a relationship with.
Yes, they do all the work, or most of the work, and what we do from our end is we knock our margin down to give them more margin to be able to devote to some marketing and some other ways to assist us.
How do you find a good one? I reckon export is paved with war stories of Australian exporters who have hitched up to a distributor or a local partner and it's gone sour.
It's very difficult, it's risky, and I think you just need to judge the partner you're with and don't expect rapid growth. I mean, these things do take time.
How did you test the whole export strategy?
We used a consolidator in Melbourne who was taking products to places like Mauritius and Hong Kong, which is small amounts,
Right.
start small. And then as it sort of we achieved some notoriety, we went across and met some people and got introduced to people. And
Right.
you know, it's never the silver bullet. You've just got to pick away at it.
How do you come to grips with the cultural differences and knowing the nuances of that? Because that's undone a lot of exporters as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, fortunately in our area, a high quality premium fruit juice is quite universal. There's a good example of a couple who started doing baby food into China, but they didn't do it like you would think of it from Australia. They were making a congee. So, of course, adapted to it.
How important is the Australian brand in
Super
exporting
important.
to
Super.
Asia?
They all want to see a thriving Australian business, and I'm reminded time and time again, before you even go overseas, this is your market, be a big success here. This is quite big enough.
Yeah.
I mean, the drink sector in Australia is somewhere north of $5 billion.
Tom, stick around. More insights from Tom very shortly. Coming up, passion meets purpose. More secrets of success from the founder of Emma & Tom's. Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Today we're chatting with Tom Griffith. We catch up with him every couple of years to pick his brains. Of course, Tom is the founder of Emma & Tom's. Now, Tom, you're B Corp certified. Now tell us about that. What does that mean?
There's about 5,000 B Corps in the world, which is not a lot, and there's about 500 in Australia. A B Corp is a accreditation which indicates the company have a focus on 3 bottom lines. So not just financial, but also social and environmental.
So how important is that for you to have that certification?
We find it very important because it makes you keep an eye on things. Until you're conscious of factors, for example, in our case, they look at power usage or water usage. Well, until you even start measuring it, you can't reduce it.
Right.
So it goes right down your supply chains and food chains and assesses you under all of those criteria at a point score, essentially.
So, in other words, it provides you with the roadmap.
Yes.
To make sure you're true to yourself.
Correct. It's data and measurement.
Okay. How important is that for your customers and your suppliers?
Hopefully our suppliers think of us as thought leaders in doing it. I mean, once again, there's only 500 in Australia.
Yeah.
And for our customers, hopefully they see us as sort of like-minded people who do care. And you know, we can all do more. We all know that.
Yep.
And it's once again a reminder of that. And the team love it because it adds more buy-in for them.
How does it affect the DNA of your culture? Because that would be a really powerful driver, wouldn't it?
Exactly. So once again, when it comes to doing new products or buying a vehicle, it's one of your now scorecard checkpoints.
Right. The B certification is something practical that keeps you on track to fulfilling that and gives you a process.
That's right, and doing it in the most sensitive way, socially and environmentally.
Okay. What do you see as the purpose of your products and your brand?
We always say it's supposed to help people look after themselves, and I think it's emotion. As you know, no one ever bought a car out of rational thought to motion.
Yeah.
So now we're in 5, 6, 7,000 Australian outlets. People walk past us the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to pull all of the sort of lemonade and Snickers eaters across to us immediately.
Right.
But when they want to go to something which is better for them, we're there. We're available. And they think to themselves, well, I feel good about myself for buying Emma & Tom's.
Does it help you with recruiting staff and building a management culture as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we attract good people because the brand has that pull.
Yeah.
So we either get them organically or when we put an ad on LinkedIn, we get swamped.
Right. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And is it by generational? Can you notice a generational difference?
Yes, and we're still getting the same sort of people, once again, 17 years later. So, you know, one of my cousins is one of our early employees. She's now living in Melbourne with 3 children and her 4th job since she left Emryn Toms. I mean,
Yeah.
it is generational, but really it's the same type of person.
Yep. How do you juggle it personally? You know, you started off with your 4 juices, you're doing all the grind to establish the business. How have you coped with growth?
I enjoy it. I mean, I like work. I found during COVID and all those lockdowns, I was terribly bored. I don't look at it like work bad, play good. It's all the same. I mean, I enjoy it all. It's fun.
He's certainly having fun and also is having a big impact right across the board.
After the break, growing pains, how Emryn Toms scaled, plus productivity hacks to get the most out of your day.
Hey, it's Kate Christie, and I'm here to talk about productivity in your business. You cannot be and do everything. Firstly, it's about investing your time and your energy when you're feeling your best. So when you're feeling amazing, spend that time doing really hard business stuff. Secondly, some of the things you want to do in terms of making time for yourself and your business is to be working on the business, not in the business the whole time. Think about what you're really good at. What did you start the business for? Are you amazing at the product or the service? Do you love the customer engagement or the sales? Focus on what you're best at and outsource the things that you are not an expert at. The other thing about being a small business is a lot of us went into small business to have more time and more freedom. I know for me, I wanted to go into small business so I could build a career and a business life around my kids. But what happened? You know, all of a sudden we're spending every hour that God sent working in the business when we were actually supposed to be making more time for ourselves and our families. So be really conscious of that time investment. Put everything into one calendar. Have the to-do list that includes all of the work tasks, but also all of the tasks and things you want to do around your family. Sometimes you're going to have to start saying no to some of the requests that come your way. There's just a few tips around making sure that you're looking after yourself at the same time as you're looking after your business.
Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Now, today we've been chatting with Tom Griffith about starting, scaling and successfully exporting Emryn Toms to a global market. While we touched on some of the decisions that went into expanding the brand's product range, we didn't really talk about what it's meant to scale the business so successfully. Tom, so many businesses scale from small beginnings and can't cope with the growth. What are some of the strategies you adopted right from the very start?
Very careful cash management. Secondly, information. So we're very quick to move from our incumbent accounting software to a fully fledged ERP system, enterprise resource planning, because it's about data and information. We're very lucky also, because of our van network, we can add on vans and territories like a cell dividing. So we don't buy a new van until there's cash to cover the overheads of that vehicle and the driver. How
do you maintain the quality of the product as you scale as well? Do you manufacture offshore as well, or do you ship it all from here?
No, it's all made in Australia. What we did do is we increased the number of bottling plants we used to obviously diversify that risk. We have very good quality control, and we work with our hand in glove with these production plants to make sure the quality is maintained.
You say that in a very matter-of-fact way. Actually, putting into practice must take an enormous effort.
Yeah, we had one plant some time ago who put the wrong ingredient into the wrong product, and it all came back a completely bad colour. Well, that goes to second bite. Right. That's just one of the risks of the business. So you need to have enough sales and enough overhead to absorb some of these growing pains.
How did you finance it? How did you fund the expansion?
We funded it from cash flow, from personal finances.
Usually, people have to arrange enormous credit facilities to do that. How did you do it from cash flow?
It's getting terms with both your customers and your suppliers.
Right.
Export's a different one because they pay what's known in the trade as FOB, free on board.
Right.
So essentially, the stock doesn't leave Australia till we got the cash. It's
Yeah,
as simple
yeah.
as that. So it's about dealing with each party.
Were you ever tempted to go into manufacturing yourself rather than doing it through suppliers?
There's obviously an inflection point where if you're paying away X dollars per year in co-packing fees and you say, well, for that, I can fund my own line,
Yep.
then the conversation becomes real.
Have you ever done that?
We think about it a lot. In the fullness of time, we should be approaching it. It takes capital, but I think you're a better business for owning the entire system.
You're a better business for owning the entire system.
Control.
That's a giant leap forward,
It's
isn't
a
it?
big leap, which we haven't yet approached, and we have great terms with our co-packers, which we enjoy. So we haven't felt the need right now to go and do anything like that.
When you look back, what's been the one experience that has shaped the whole business for you?
Look, I think the launch, when it took off pretty immediately,
Yep.
and it was clearly taken on board by the Australian public. Now it's been adopted as a bit of a national brand, which we're forever grateful for.
Tom, it has been an incredible journey. You've always been so generous with your advice over the years, coming on this show and helping so many of us. Mate, thanks for joining us again, giving
Thank
us
you.
the update.
Thanks.
I promised a boot camp with Tom Griffiths. I think we got it, and he never disappoints. If you want to find out more about Emma & Tom's, check out the website at emmaandtoms.com.au. And remember, if you're looking for small business tips or the latest news and expert advice, then you can find them online at koshesbusinessbuilders.com.au or follow us, Koshie's Biz, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta and Twitter. We'll see you next time.
Next week, TV's Dr. Jenny joins us as co-host. We get the lowdown on AI detection for small business, plus find out how to avoid burnout before it's too late.